All right, welcome back to The Explainer. Today, we're cracking open a seriously fascinating, highly precise ancient manual. We're looking at the ultimate unfiltered masterclass on the exact historical process of chanting the Gayatri Mantra, and this is derived directly from chapter 36 of the Guru Charitra. If you've ever found yourself wondering about the staggering level of detail, the physical discipline, and the sheer mental architecture required in traditional Vedic practices, well, you're absolutely in the right place. We're going to decode this text strictly as it's written, step by step, making sure we don't leave a single detail out.
Okay, let's dive right into this. Here's exactly how we're going to break down this incredibly dense spiritual manual. First up, preparation and divine invocation. Second, Nyasa, which is mapping the sacred syllables. Third, the 24 essential mudras. Fourth, postures, times, and padas. Fifth, sacred rosaries and merit. And finally, number 6, strict conduct and conclusion.
So part 1, preparation and divine invocation, preparing the mind and invoking the divine. The text makes it crystal clear right out of the gate. You don't just jump in and start chanting. The ritual strictly begins with the sacred syllable Om, and that happens before any of the complex visualizations even take place.
When you're starting out in the morning, the text mandates this highly specific visualization of the goddess Gayatri. The practitioner has to vividly envision her with a radiant red body, clothed in vibrant red garments and gracefully riding a swan. In this specific morning form, the presiding deity is Lord Brahma, and holding these precise visual details in your mind, it adds immense focused energy to the very foundation of the chant.
From there, you're rapid-firing through these precise attributes. It actually shifts depending on the time of day. So you've got Gayatri Devata and the Gayatri Chanda in the morning, and Savita Devata alongside Saraswati and the Gayatri Chanda at midday. You chant specific invocation mantras, specifically Agnihotra Phala Avahayami and Ayatu Varada Devi, to invite the divine presence. Then, the visualization gets incredibly complex. You meditate on the goddess with 5 distinct colored faces: pearl, coral, gold, sapphire, and white. She has 3 eyes, a crescent moon on her crest, and holds exactly 10 distinct items in her hands. We're talking a kamandalu or water pot, a rosary, a ladle, a goad, a whip, a skull, a mace, a conch, a discus, and a lotus. Holding this massive matrix of imagery in the mind is absolutely crucial for the ritual's foundation.
Moving into part 2, Nyasa. Mapping sacred syllables, or aligning energetic frequencies to the physical body. Now, this is where things get truly fascinating, because the physical body of the practitioner is about to become a literal map for the mantra's vibrations.
So what exactly is Nyasa? Simply put, it's the strict physical placement of the mantra's sacred spiritual energy, its actual syllables, onto specific corresponding parts of your body. Physically placing these syllables on the body anchors the spiritual practice. It ensures the chanter is literally vibrating with the text. Now, what's really interesting here is the sheer exactitude of this lower body matrix. The first 8 syllables are methodically placed starting from the very bottom of the body and working upward. You place takara on the toes, sakara on the ankles, vikara on the calves, and it goes all the way up to the knees, thighs, genitals, testicles, and finally to the waist. The body is effectively being meticulously coded with the mantra.
And this brilliantly illustrates how the whole process builds on itself. The remaining 17 syllables are mapped across the upper body. You've got tam, yam, dam, chum, and pram on the tuft of hair and regions of the head. Then nam, yom, and yom on the east face, forehead, and between the eyebrows. Dim, him, mam, dim, and syam go across the 3 eyes, nose, palate, teeth, and throat. And vam, dem, gam, and bam cover the heart, breasts, stomach, and navel. Once you've got all that complete, you finish with the omkara, or pranava syllables, placing akara on the navel, ukara on the heart, makara on the mouth, nakar on the forehead, and a final makar on the head, which ends in a reverent namaskara, or bow.
All right, part 3, the 24 essential mudras, the physical keys to spiritual efficacy. If Nyasa is mapping the body, the mudras are the critical physical locks and keys of the entire process. And let me tell you, they require immense discipline to execute properly.
According to the text, the practitioner must perfectly form 24 specific hand gestures. It's a huge list. Sumukha, Samputa, Ivitata, Vistruta, Dvimukha, Trimukha, Chaturmukha, Panchmukha, Shanmukha, Adhomukha, Vyapakanjalika, Shakata, Yamapasha, Grasthita, Chalmukonmukha, Pralamba, Mushtika, Matsya, Kurma, Varaha, Simhakranta, Mahakranta, Mudgara, and Pallava. And here's the catch. They have to be performed secretly. You must know them intimately, because skipping or improperly forming even one of these 24 gestures compromises the whole practice.
Just listen to how heavily the text weighs this. Without knowing and performing these mudras, the Gayatri chanting is considered fruitless. It literally zeroes out the spiritual merit. No way around it. Following these mudras, you must perform breath control, pranayama, and make a firm resolution, a sankalpa, aiming to chant 108 times specifically for the destruction of all sins.
Part 4 brings us to postures, times, and padas, basically the architecture of the chant. The timing and structure of the verses, known as padas, are just as tightly regulated as the physical body itself.
You see, the mantra is divided into 3 specific lines, or padas, and you have to physically pause and meditate on distinct elements for each one. For the first line, you meditate on the Rigvada, the earth element, Lord Brahma, and the Trishtap Chanda. For the second, it's the Yajurveda, the life breaths, Lord Rudra, and the Jagathi Chanda. And for the third, the Samaveda, Lord Vishnu, and again, the Trishtap Chanda. The text firmly warns that chanting these 3 lines continuously together without breaks is a grave sin. They absolutely must be articulated and separated properly.
To really highlight why all this matters, Chapter 36 reveals the hidden meanings embedded directly into the syllables themselves. The syllable ga represents the mind, and ya represents the life breath. The text explicitly states you must perfectly unite your mind and breath while chanting. Furthermore, the syllable ja is said to remove rebirth, while pa removes sins. The syllables aren't just phonetic sounds, they are highly functional spiritual tools. Let's move on and see how this builds throughout a single day. The physical postures shift dynamically. In the morning, you must stand up while chanting. At midday, you sit down, holding the rosary specifically near your heart. And by evening, you sit down, but now you hold your hand near your mouth, and you must gaze at a pure, holy tree. If there isn't a tree available, you have to fix your gaze strictly on the tip of your nose.
The text also lays out a sort of sliding scale for requirements, based on your life stage and capacity. Householders and students chant 108 times. Ascetics must chant 1,000 times. If you're in distress or incapacitated, the minimum is 28 or 10 times. Interestingly, silent mental chanting, which is known as manasika, is considered the supreme method with the absolute highest merit. Whispering, or gupta sumukh, is medium merit, and chanting aloud, known as kanishta, actually yields the lowest merit.
Okay, Part 5, Sacred Rosaries and Merit. The mathematics of spiritual multipliers. It is genuinely fascinating how the physical materials of the rosary, or mala, are mathematically mapped out to exponentially increase the spiritual payoff.
Look at these staggering multipliers. Counting on your thumb, that's 1x merit. Move to the finger joints, and it jumps to 10x. But as you use physical beads, it skyrockets. Conch beads give 100 times the merit. Coral is 1,000. Crystal is 10,000. Pearls are 100,000. Lotus seeds grant 1,000,000 times the merit. Gold beads grant 10 million. And using a mala made of kusha grass or rudraksha beads, that yields infinite spiritual merit. But remember, the text explicitly dictates that this mala must always be kept completely hidden in the hand while you're chanting.
But there's a huge catch, a crucial mechanical boundary of the physical rosary practice. You must never, ever cross the central meru bead of the mala while cycling through your counts. The text states that crossing it incurs a boundless sin. If you cross it accidentally, there's a built-in remedy though. You must immediately perform 3 pranayamas to neutralize it.
Finally, Part 6, Strict Conduct and Conclusion. Protecting the merit of the chant. After doing all this complex physical and mental work, the text outlines rigorous boundaries designed to protect the accumulated spiritual energy of the ritual. So what everyday, completely mundane actions do you think could instantly wipe out all that spiritual merit you just built up? You might be surprised by how heavily regulated the body is during this time. Yep, passing wind during a sacred chant. The text takes bodily functions very seriously, and doing that instantly turns your merit into a sin. You also have to avoid sleep, yawning, and anger, all while maintaining absolute silence, or mona. If you absolutely must speak, you chant the Tattva mantra to purify the speech.
If you break any of these rules accidentally, you have to immediately perform remedies. Touch your right ear, which is known as Stotrat Shamana, look at the sun, a fire, or a cow, and chant the Vishnu mantra. But honestly, the most fascinating theological rule here is, do not sit in water while chanting. The text explains that a Brahmin holds 3 sacred internal fires, Ahavanya, Garhapatya, and Dakshinagni, in their mouth. Sitting in water extinguishes the brilliance of these sacred fires, literally destroying the practitioner's wisdom. As you wrap up, the text elegantly brackets the day with specific, time-bound concluding mantras to close out the session. In the morning, you conclude with a Mitra Saya mantra. At midday, you use Uduchyam, and in the evening, you chant Imam Me Varuna. To fully close out the ritual, you've got 4 final steps. You must bow to all 4 directions, perform a physical circumambulation, state your specific lineage and pravara out loud, and offer a final bow. And this brilliantly illustrates the depth of this text. Every breath, every gesture, every thought is completely accounted for. Which leaves us with a pretty provocative question. If just one chapter of this text contains this staggering level of physical and spiritual architecture, what other hidden dimensions of human consciousness are mapped out in the rest of these ancient manuscripts? Thank you so much for joining me on this deep dive. Keep learning, and I'll catch you in the next explainer.